You are the air I breathe, your holy presence living in me, and I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful for you. Now, if you could just stand up, you just feel there's so much more in and through you when you sing it. You don't have to, but those that will, you just feel it so much better. And I want you to sing with me. You know it, you've heard it for so long. You are the air I breathe. You are the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me, and Thank you.
Black.
You're right. Okay, that means it's not my fault, but the sound guy. So we'll take it out on him. So is there anybody here from another unity? Anybody here for the first time? Leave your hand up in the air, way up. You're going to get a gift. You're going to get a surprising gift. What are you driving right now? This bag coming to you has the keys to a brand new Lexus in the parking lot. We take care of the first timers. Okay. Well, we have the opportunity to transcend the limited thinking that we've been raised in the world. And Syntysche's talk today is going to help you do that, because we'll move away from a lot of thinking and fearing and grasping into joy. It's going to be about joy today, so you're going to love this service.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Boulder. Those of you who are joining us here in person or those online, we're just happy to share some time with you each week. So thank you for joining us. Got a few quick announcements. We've got quite a few things upcoming down the road here that we want to start letting everyone know about. First up, on May 20th, we're having back our nature path, Dr. Charles Cropley, ND. He's going to be teaching an hour-and-a-half workshop over here in Fellowship Hall. It's $25. It's just a one-time event. You can sign up for it in the bookstore or online. The idea is to transform your relationship with your food and your body. So come check that out. He is fantastic, and he knows what he's talking about. We're also going to be restarting our Q Process course. This is a Unity certified course. It's going to be led by our good friend Steve Hayes, who is on his way to, he's working his way through the ministerial process. This class also, it's a 6-week class starting May 26th. It's 6 Thursdays in a row from 6 to 8 p.m. Also, by taking this class, you can become an official member of Unity of Boulder by taking it. So please, if you have any more questions about it, please ask us in the office or look online, or if you find Steve Hayes, ask him. He'll be happy to tell you all about it. We have a concert with Alethea Rising, or some of you might know them better as Dinah and Sierra, who grace our stage quite frequently. Their haunting band, Alethea Rising, will be playing here Saturday, June 4th. Yeah, Saturday, June 4th. You can get tickets over in the bookstore. You can get everything in the bookstore or online. We also have a workshop coming up. This is a Qigong Workshop by a Qigong master who only comes to town once a year. And usually he kind of does a private workshop that's kind of his own deal. But this year we got him to do kind of a more open workshop, just a one-time event. And that'll be June 5th. It's $35. It'll take place almost immediately following our June 5th Sunday service. As always, you can sign up online or in the bookstore. If you have any questions about it, please ask any of us on the staff. And last but not least, we want to try and start getting more food for following our services at our fellowship hall. So we'd like to try for a month to have, if your name starts with an A, B, C, D, or E, bring a dish to share over in Fellowship Hall. And then we're going to do that for a month, and then we'll do the next group of letters and the next group of letters, and after about a year or so, we'll know which group of people brought the best food. So please, we'd love to have you join us. Even if you don't bring any food, we still love to have you hang out with us over in Fellowship Hall following the services. So now I'd like to invite Steve Hayes to come on out here and take us into a prayer. Steve.
Thank you, Mike.
Wait, hold on. That's Mike. By the way, this is the Steve Hayes I was talking about who's going to be teaching the Q process class. So if you have any questions, that's your man.
All right, it's my privilege to lead us in prayer. So just relax in your seat this time. Take a few deep breaths and let go of the world. Relax into gravity. In this moment, just allow the earth to support you. Father, Mother, God, Universe, today we are grateful. We are grateful for that which sustains everything we do, our Mother Earth. Let us take a moment right now and root ourselves into the earth. Using your power of imagination, imagine your energy going down into the core of the earth, all the way down to the center. And having done that now, imagine the energy of that molten core coming back up into your body and filling every cell of your body. And now imagine extending your energy and your arms up like you are the greatest oak tree that you've ever seen. And with that energy extended up, feel the sun, feel the wind, feel life all around you. Feel the joy of being connected, rooted and fully extended out into the earth. Feel that connection with Mother Earth. For truly we are one. We are one earth. We are one humanity. We are one spirit. So thank you, God, for the privilege of being on this planet. Thank you for all your infinite blessings. And to this we say, Amen. And now let us welcome our special guest and wonderful musician, Rebecca Abraxas.
quiet place, huh? Even with my ringing in the ears, it's quiet. He makes the ringing in the ears go away. I ran away from the monsters for 45 years, and I ran a damn good race. You know, I used work. I worked myself to the bone every day of the week, 7 days a week, and I used beer, drink a beer at night, and then I'd fall into bed and everything would be fine. Now I've reached an age where the beer doesn't work and I can't work quite as hard anymore, and I am a veteran. I'm a frontline infantry veteran. I was in some of the heaviest combat in Vietnam at a month and a half into 19 years old. I got two Erics going on all the time. I've got a 65-year-old Eric, and I have an 18-year-old scared to death little kid. You take a spring and you bend the coil spring. You can try and bend it back, and you can get it close, but you can never get that spring back to where it originally was. And that's what happened to all of us. We got bent. I see now, at 65, that that's what I did. I built my own island. I didn't have to get off of. That's why we got a blacksmith shop. That's why we got a machine shop. That's why we got a sawmill and a molder building and a foundry and all the other things, so that I don't got to go to the store. I don't got to go to no place. I just make whatever I got to make.
Why don't you want to go out there?
Because I don't fit. It's not that and me aren't a good fit. In 45 years, I have bent the spring back without snapping it as close to what it was as I can get it, but it don't never come back.
More? I think there's more. Is that all you have, Steve? Okay. Oh, I wanted you guys to see the rest of that. That's okay. Good morning. Welcome to Unity. So that, I don't know if it's a monologue. It's from a show that's taking place on Magnolia Network, and it's called Portrait of a Master Woodworker. And he is a master woodworker that is recognized all over the world and has taken to nature to bend that spring back that was broken from being in Vietnam. And it's an incredible show. I've caught it a few times, and he reminds me of an elder friend of mine of many years named Martin Middledorf, who was really rough on the outside. You know, just had that kind of that rough, leathery skin, but on the inside, the insights that he carried, you just wanted to walk around with him and listen to his experience. And he also was a veteran, and he also helped us when we had that big flood downstairs. He led the cleanup of, we almost lost the whole building downstairs with the Lions flood that happened to hit here. And he left us a few years ago from a heart attack. So I've been noticing and watching this show, and I'm feeling Martin. It's like, it's just so wonderful to remember these relationships of people that had really hard lives, and yet in the end, they ended up helping others find a spiritual journey, a spiritual life, because they understood what it was to have the spring bent so far, and your whole life was about bringing it back to as close to balance as he said he could get it to. And I'm not saying that we're all veterans, but I think that many of us can relate to that at this time with all that we've been through in the last few years. The talk today's title is Life-Changing Alterations for Spiritual Truth. In the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary by Charles Fillmore, truth means truth abides in fullness at the very core of men and women. As consciousness, awareness expands. He or she touches the everlasting truth. What seems new is but the unveiling of that which always has been. So this coil that Eric was speaking to in himself, through his creative work, he started to become a woodworker, and he lives in the redwoods. And what he's saying is he doesn't leave the redwoods. He has every single shop he needs. And eventually he was invited to start educating people in woodworking that are veterans to come back with PTSD and all sorts of issues. And his life's calling is to help those that have been injured by the visual of war. And he also works with troubled teenagers that are not going to pass high school. He takes them in, and he says, it's not that they're bad kids, they're just kids that can't sit in a chair to learn, that they need to move their hands. And he understands that because he's a part of that. His show is so touching because not only is he a master woodworker, and to watch somebody that works with an element like wood, when we're celebrating right now Earth Day on Friday, I want to recognize our beautiful Mother Earth. The way he walks through his nature that he owns and works with these teenagers and these affected vets, it brings you hope that all of us, I think all of us relate with the fact that we want to feel a sense of purpose from the difficulties that we've gone through, where our spring got bent. And as we found our awakening process or our transformation back to balance, we have to ask ourselves, was it important for the spring to get bent? Right? That's one of the ones we wonder. We look back and we want to change things from the past, and we might not have fears to move forward. And eventually we have to decide, is it all in divine order? Is there a reason for everything that comes under every season? And yet, we see what we're all going through right now. Well, all that we're watching in this world. During our personal transformation these last few years, many of us really understand the Bible saying from Psalms 23, 1 through 6, where it says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." I think we're looking to our Bible passages more often now to find some sort of balance in the midst of turmoil. And we can look to the things of the world and all of the upheaval and, the women's rights and blacks' rights and gay rights, and all these things are needed to happen. All these things needed to come out from underneath the rug. And all of these things have created an incredible turmoil that are going to bring back balance to society and this world. But then we climatically end it with this war that many of us can't figure out why. What is at the bottom of it? Why would we need this catalyst of a level of darkness in the world? And I don't have the answer to that. What I do know is that I want to go through this valley of death and know that God is with me, because I'm ready to resurrect from all this change that we've been through. How many people are with me, are ready for the resurrection and finding anew what the life is about now? See, the fall away has happened. We've had enough fall away, right? So now we're kind of standing in this middle ground, this nakedness, if for a better word, to now reclothe ourselves with that which is being called for this next factor of our life, right? So it starts with a catalyst, a time in your life where you experienced a really upsetting time. It could be maybe some of us lost our jobs during this. It could have been a breakup, something that really shook the foundation of our lives. How many people feel like this time shook the foundation of their lives? And if you didn't, you knew somebody that did, right? There's nobody, none of us really got out of not experiencing the upheaval of it. And these type of situations can be the first step of awakening to our true selves. In the moment we feel upset by it, we feel burned. A moment where earthquakes sent things into disarray. But when we move through it, we can look back at that time in our life where we can see that it was a catalyst for transformation. It's hard going through it, but in the end we come out stronger because of it, as long as we don't get stuck in the victimhood of the process. Through facing such challenges, we come to know ourselves, our gifts, and our inner resources more deeply. And as the fall away has happened, which is on a social level, on a political level, so many levels, it's brought up the duality in ourselves, right? It's hard to look at something on the outside and not have it make us look at the inner dwelling of ourselves, right? So there's this inner dwelling, and Jack talked about this at the first service, and that's not coincidental. I don't read his sermons, he doesn't read mine, but I think that we're right on the exact same track. I think he might probably did a better job than I'm about to do, but he talked about a Native American story where we have two wolves within us, and one wolf is, lives in anger, it punishes, it says things are bad, it just lives in the negativity and isn't good to others and whatever. And then there's the side of us that has empathy and kindness and love, and there's no end to the goodness that we will give. And these two wolves live within us, and the question is, which one will have the power in your life? And the truth of the story is that the one that will have power in your life is the one that you'll give your attention to. Right? So we're always in the duality. It's just a matter of, can we quiet the voice that keeps us from the kindness, the wholeness, the love, the sharing, the beauty, right? So we've all been through this. We're in the process of an awakening process. And if we really wanted a second coming of Christ, which the Bible speaks about, what would that look like anyways? Would we really be able to recognize this second coming of Christ? Or would it look a little bit like this man, Eric, who's actually lived life and actually been broken by life and been called to recoil this spring and find why we're here, right? Is there a reason that he was that vet so that he could come and help so many people and now have a show that will be so massive that we'll all be watching because he's in this meditative state and you just get to walk through the rainforest with him and you feel his love for nature. He might feel like an outcast in this world, but he's found his purpose as a being. That's all we really want, is to find our purpose as a being, to feel worthwhile, to share our gifts with others. So we have all been through this breakdown together in these last 2 years. Isolation, masks, loss of community, loss of friends, ultimately a loss of innocence, and then the climax of this terrible war in Ukraine. It has been the ultimate death on the cross for all of us, and now it is time for our resurrection. I know today is the Orthodox Easter for those of you that have family and that are celebrating that today, but today we're going to be living from the resurrection from last Sunday. Metaphysical meaning of resurrection, which is written by Charles Fillmore, which is our co-founder. He wrote the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, so you can look up your Bible and look up what every word means metaphysically and how it pertains to our actual lives. Resurrection, the restoring of mind and body to their original undying state. This is accomplished by the realization that God is spirit and that God created man with power like that which he himself possesses. When man realizes this, his mind and body automatically become immortal. If the spirit of him or her that raised up Jesus from the dead dwelleth in you, he that raised up Christ Jesus from the dead shall give life also to your mortal bodies through his spirit that dwelleth in you. In Romans 8:11. I know that's very masculine worded. I didn't change it over. I actually had a hard time doing it, so I just left it. But you ladies know we're just as equally included. I need that to go off. I don't know why that's on right this second. So, a good friend of mine, Sue Frederick, she's about to be ordained as a minister this summer, and she has this quote from her book, and it says this: "We know everything we need to know. This knowingness speaks to us through our gut feelings, hunches, impressions, and perceptions. Yet we constantly talk ourselves out of this flawless inner wisdom." We constantly talk ourselves out of this flawless inner wisdom. See, there is a natural order to things, as much as it feels like things are out of order right now. There's a natural order. And we want to blame, and we want to make a person bad, and we want to make situations, reasons why we're not taking to task our own consciousness, where we're trying and find peace in the eye of the storm. What if that is the spiritual virtue through all of this? As all these things that we've loved have fallen away, and we're now rebirthing into that which is going to be good. We decide whether this next phase is going to be good or bad. We're the ones that put the judgment on what the outcome will be for this next piece. While we're in the middle and we're in the neutral, we're in the center. And how do we get into this higher state of consciousness without grasping at what's happening in this world and become identified with that which we can bring to the consciousness of this world and this planet? In Matthew 5:12, it says, "Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven." Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. What does that mean? This distant heaven. But by rejoicing daily that there is a perfect life to be had ahead. You can get through the imperfections and be glad for your life in the here and now. So this takes us to the now. How do we get to the now in the midst of the turmoil outside of ourselves? Again, in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, Charles Fulmer says this is what heaven is. Heaven, the Christ consciousness, the realm of divine mind, a state of consciousness in harmony with the thoughts of God. Heaven is everywhere present. It is the orderly, lawful adjustment of God's kingdom in man's mind, body, and affairs. Jesus, of all those claiming intimate acquaintance with spiritual things, gave heaven definite location. The kingdom of God is within you. Luke 17:21. Heaven is within every one of us, a place, a conscious sphere of mind, having all the attraction described or imagined as belonging to heaven. But this kingdom within is not material. It is spiritual. This is very important. This kingdom within is not material, but it is spiritual. So, basically what that's saying, for us to attain this peace that we're looking for, and some of us may be doing our meditation each day, and we're bringing the spiritual energy to aspects of our life like parenting and our marriages and something else, but then we get to work and there's just this hostile situation, and that's when the spirituality goes out the tubes, and we are just now in the human experience of this place, right? Not many of us have a consistency of the spiritual life in every aspect of our lives. Like I have a friend of mine who meditates in the morning, does this, does that, gets all ready, whatever. And she's amazing, and she's soft-spoken, and she's kind, and yet then she gets in the car, and she's like a freaking maniac, like screaming at everyone. And it's like, the toast won't get toasted fast enough. It's just there's these things in her. I'm like, whoa, like she's so enlightened. And then there's these little areas. And so we can take to task, where are we missing the mark, as they say, which is what they call sin, metaphysically. Where are we missing the mark? Where are we in error in the way that we're sharing with ourselves and others? Where all of a sudden we turn the spiritual switch off, and all of a sudden now we're facing things in a state of fear instead of a state of love. And that's for us to decide for ourselves. So most of us have a tendency to live in the past or the future. How often do you find yourself thinking about what happened yesterday or what might happen tomorrow? How does this affect your life and well-being? When we realize that there is a rhyme and a reason for everything, even when it looks really bleak, we look through a lens of the divine. We are in the presence of the living God through us. And in order for us to live more fully in the moment, we need to forgive the past. in our great Oprah says, forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could have been any different. I like that a lot. Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could have been any different. Because when I watched this show of this master carpenter, which if you could ask Mike to get the rest of that video, because it's on the email and it had a timestamp and he didn't follow my ask. And he's going to be in big trouble after this service. I'm just kidding. Not wanting to change the hardships of the past, because if we can realize that everything's in divine order, there's a reason for everything, then there's a reason for this incredible being that has this show now that's going to share this soft consciousness, and it's all just thought process. It's like listening to the Course in Miracles the entire time this person speaks through his show. If that coil had not gotten bent and hurt and broken and fragmented, would there have been a draw to reconnect and grow into this, like he said, the most healed version, and probably a much more healed version than the one that went to Vietnam? Because it broke open the veil. Like it was saying earlier, it takes a catalyst to open ourselves up to the greater understanding that there's something bigger than our personal dictates and wants. It takes something usually tragic to open ourselves up to leaning on this something that we might have never leaned on before. And when we finally did, all it took was just a tuning of a string to lean onto this greater something and feel that love. And to remember and grasp and get, I'm the one that's pinching myself off from this greater love. I'm the one that's shutting the door to this greater experience that's divinely guided, directed, and amazing, right? When we've thought we've lost everything is probably when you've gained everything. Because now you have nothing to hold on to hide from this greater something. And we have to trust in this love. So in this talk, I'm going to be discussing how to live in the present moment more frequently, and some ways that can help you get back into living mindfully. It's easier to be distracted by the TV and speaking to all the ills of other people's lives and their divorces and all this stuff, and keep ourselves just talking about everybody else so that we don't have to be with self. This newfound version of ourselves that we all need to discover after the fall away of the last 2 years, and maybe for the last all of your life. And it was just time to be pummeled for us to get down to the bottom and say, okay, what, God? I'm listening. What do you want? Lead me to where I belong. I'm here. I'm open vessel. And once we get into that truth, these ebbs and falls, all this starts to go more like this. Because we start our day with spirit in meditation. We drink and eat in the presence and are in that and not somewhere else and always thinking about something else. So one way to be in the present moment is by noticing your surroundings. How often do you take time out of your day to actually look around and see what's going on? When was the last time you sat down and closed your eyes and took a deep breath and just looked at everything that's going on in your life? So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Take this opportunity right now and take a deep breath. Integrate yourself into the life you already have. In this moment, in this now moment, recognize the life you have created for yourself. And then bring more love into your awareness, an appreciation of yourself in all that you have achieved, all that you have experienced. And now observe what you are chasing in life. What is taking you out of this now moment? What is all this chasing doing to bring this fleeting someday happiness, someday wholeness? See, when you get here and now, letting go of what could have been and what is to come, you become grounded in the place where you can experience the messages of Spirit. And those messages will stretch you in this now moment into a deeper, more fulfilling experience of the life you already have. And being here and now will slow the pace of your life down. Being with what really matters, fully awake to each breath of life. And so I'm going to ask you to open your eyes now. In Psalms 118:24, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. When's the last time you woke up and you just rejoiced and were glad in your day? Just say, was it sometime this week? Who this week woke up and was like, yes, rejoice, and I'm glad in it? Okay, good. So we had like 10. Did you have another time in the day where you're like, rejoice? Or was it a sarcastic way of saying, rejoice? So, the world asks us to stay distracted and busy. Busied beyond what is enjoyable, right? I know in my work, I'm asked to, if I fulfilled every want and need of every person that participates in this center, I would literally never sleep. But I have to find what the balance is as the spiritual leader here at Unity, and what I can give, how much I can fill my glass and how much I can give and still be in a state every day to rejoice and be glad with the life that I live. We tend to feel too responsibility for other people's happiness and approvals. That's definitely been in my nature for many, many years. I'm getting much better at it as I get older. Kinder in my no's. I used to yell no because I was afraid that they would challenge my no, you know. But to really get in the moment and find out what you're doing each day that's in reverence of an actual feasible timeline of happiness. Are you racing to keep up and feeling like you're just coming up short in every area of your life and you feel like you just can't quite pull it off? Because then we're living in the world. In the world, in the state of the human consciousness. See, we want to be in the world, but not of the world. The world doesn't dictate our sense of peace, our knowing of peace, our believing in our own peace. But we have to make boundaries to create peace. That means we turn our phones off at a certain point. I have 2 teenagers, so I can't ever turn it off at night now, but I miss those days where I can turn it off more often. And to be able just to not have everything dinging and constantly going, Syntysche, you're needed, Syntysche, you're needed, Syntysche, you're needed. We all have all these ways to distract us from our just being with our dog in nature. Just being. Instead of just doing all the time. Doing because for some reason, because we did so much doing in our lifetime, when we get to the pearly gates, we get some sort of award for just busting our asses our whole life and never enjoying it. Right? It's kind of an American way. We just work, and then somehow we're going to get some sort of praise. Because we beat, like he said, I worked 7 days and 7 nights to my bones. And now he gets at 65. I can't do that anymore. So he's doing it a different way. But why do we have to wait till we're in this later part of our life? to give ourselves the spiritual life and give it to ourselves abundantly. So you didn't see Jesus rushing around to heal people. He wasn't rushing to every situation to heal people, at Bethesda, or heal the blind, or he was going up on the mountain and he was praying. He always did some sort of spiritual ritual before he even showed up ever anywhere to work the kind of miracles that he said we could all work. Because he went to the Father. He goes to the Father. We all have a direct connection with this divine Father, Mother. We sit in meditation before we face anything in our lives. We tap into the spiritual first and let that lead us. Let the holiness lead us. Let our honesty lead us. And if we're not there, don't go. Because we only want to be a blessing to the consciousness and the frequency of the love that is needed for our planet and the world. Do you agree? Can you do that? Can I get an amen? Or yeah, I think so. I think I could do that. It's actually a lot easier than you think. You just go and hide, okay? Turn off the phones, So, we're in a world of multitasking. How many things can we pull off at the same time? And we're like, good for us, good for us. But in order to live in the moment, we need to do one thing at a time. And when you do that one thing at a time, you will do it unbelievably. That's how we start to recognize that this monkey chatter is racing us around. It's telling us what we need to do, what we can't do, juggling the multiple tasks and coming up short everywhere, but we're kind of pulling it all off, and we think that that's how we will deserve the attaboy or the paycheck. When we finally realize that we're a divine child of God, nothing can hurt us, and nothing can make us sick or make us afraid, because we are the perfect extension of God. Then we'll be a lot more gentle on ourselves, a lot more loving to ourselves. And even when we love ourselves, we can make powerful, kind boundaries that says, I want to treat you the way that I'm treating myself, so I'm going to let you in on this day, even though you'd like me in an hour. Sleeping on decisions, not impulsively answering to every person that's asking you to show up at this moment in their dictates and demands. And finally, living a spiritual life, unfolded by the winds of spirit moving in and through every aspect. And when you're called to go a different direction, then your ego says, go with the wind. Especially if things feel like they've all fallen away right now. And watch how you meet the right person to get to this situation of whatever resolve you're looking towards. It's letting go of the oars and letting the raft take you down God's river. And showing up to exactly where you are needed, wanted. In Stillness Speaks, it says, when each thought absorbs your attention completely, it means you identify with the voice in your head. Thought then becomes invested with a sense of self. This is the ego and a mind-made me. That mentally constructed self feels incomplete and precarious. That's why fearing and wanting are its predominant emotions and motivating forces. When you recognize that there is a voice in your head that pretends to be you and never stops speaking, you are awakening out of your unconscious identification with the stream of thinking. When you notice that voice, you realize that who you are is not the voice, the thinker, but the one who is aware of it. But the one who is aware of it. That's really a preliminary beginners where we got to get to on the spiritual path. We realize that we've all had the spring broken at some point in our life. And that chatter in our head tends to want to keep us broken. So it berates us, and it talks to us, and talks us down, and talks us out of faith, and talks us out of being, and talks us out of dreaming, and talks us out of living for fears that are unforeseen. So don't live at all, because this thing wants to talk you out of the divine nature that you live as. And when you can just observe that voice and go, man, I am so sorry, Syntysche, that I talked to you like that. And I'm sorry that something cut you like that, to feel less than whole, to feel less than perfect. And it probably isn't that I'm talking to myself like that because I did something to hurt myself. Somebody probably hurt me. Some situation probably hurt us. Something made us feel abandoned. Something made us feel unloved. But until we take to the healing of those things, that we can't change the past. But right now we can change everything. That voice might not stop putting you down, but observing it from a state of higher consciousness will silence it, much more so, because you realize that is not you. That is the pain body, as the Power of Now talks about. The pain body has these fragments that live in us, and it wants to talk you out of your power. So when we become the observer of that voice, we will be awakening self-compassion. Is often the greatest challenge people face on the spiritual path. We may finally have compassion for ourselves. It's not being a victim of the past, but understanding why you're berating yourself and why you're attracting other people in your life that are also reflecting that same kind of energy that we're speaking to ourselves with, because it's the law of attraction. Until we heal these things where we live as if we are less than, and we don't get into a state of compassion towards ourselves, we will keep attracting people in our lives that will keep reigniting that we are less than. And that takes meditation. That takes us stopping the current in the direction that no longer serves you. And sitting with Spirit and asking Spirit to guide your lens to the divine. Looking upon nature, trying to find the signs and symbols. Like the other day, like last week, right before Easter, I was so overwhelmed carrying so many hats. Jack was carrying so many hats. Norma, Mike, and I, we were just running around. We started the Easter show late because my dad almost lost his life to COVID in the beginning of the year, and it just kind of put us behind with everything. So those of you that are in our choir, we will have choir again. We just didn't have the energy to get a choir together. So we just kind of used our whole family and our big soloists to perform. And I woke up and I did not rejoice for the day. I woke up, I'm so exhausted. The last place I want to go to right now is the church. I was here in the morning and I was here till 9 o'clock at night. And it was just like, and I was like, even my dog, when we drove up here, he'd be like, oh. My dog would even like do this sigh of like, are you kidding me? Are we back at the church again? Like, we're not playing at all. And on my way in, I always drive on Hygiene Road to drop my kids off at school, and there's a bald eagle sanctuary to the left of the road, and I have to drive it every day, so I'm so blessed, and I see bald eagles, but that day I really needed to see them, and there weren't any. And I was like, Spirit, I really just need a sign. I just need some love. I just need some animal medicine. I need some eagle medicine. I just need to know that you're here with all that we're giving for your divine word and the life that we're sharing with others. And about 10 minutes later, nothing had happened, and I was driving into Boulder, and I was on the diagonal coming in from Longmont, and all of a sudden, this bald eagle came, and it swooped right over my windshield. I mean, I've never seen the body of an eagle like this in the way that it did it over my car. And I gasped. And I started crying and crying and crying and crying and crying because it made everything worth what we were giving. It was the biggest thank you I've ever heard from Spirit, because I felt the impact of the vibration of that holiness. And I was asking for that sign. And we can ask for that sign that am I going the right direction? And Spirit will answer you. And when Spirit does, you can't stop crying because it's so overpowering, overwhelming in the most wonderful way. For once, it's not the overpowering in the most horrible way, but it's just light. It's hope. It's faith. It's beauty. Because we know there's something greater at hand in all that we do. And so we say, thank you, God, for this life. As hard as it is in this world right now, it's growing us to be the consciousness that is the second coming of the Christ as the collective. And I wanted to share this closing video of just the most beautiful things that God's have created for our Earth Day celebration today. You know, Unity of Boulder is a completely environmentally conscious center, and all of our electricity is provided by the solar that we have on our building, to the point where we get a check from the city of Boulder because we also give energy to this planet. We don't even use compostable cups anymore. We use only actual mugs where we wash them. We have our dishwashers that are low water using, our sinks, our toilets, everything is about the consciousness of how much we can help the future of this planet. And I ask you to go to your home this week and see how else you can contribute to the consciousness of environmentally being a caretaker and a servant to it. Thank you.
Well, we have been given a quest to do what we can to be emissaries of environmental goodness. So it's a good thing to take with us, that we be more conscientious about how we live our lives. So it's a beautiful thing to get that message and to be reminded. That's what we do. Keep reminding each other that we're here by divine appointment. We're all part of a greater intelligence and love that would like to see us get into harmony with each other and bring more harmony back into the planet that supports us. So with that in mind, let's bring into our hands that gift we'd like to make to Unity of Boulder and keep this message, this truth going. And those of you that have been watching on live stream, you have these ways that you can tithe to Unity of Boulder. So just bring to mind that gift that you'd like to make, and let's bless it with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. So it is. And we have the opportunity to listen to the most amazing singer we have around these days. Rebecca, share your incredible music.
All that we know, all we are, we've been taught is so bizarre, dependent on another force, when all along we've been the source. Who would you be if you knew who you really were? How would you feel if you could trust your own word? What if you could shine the only way you shine, and help the world come alive? Like letting go of the hands that feed them, the children let go, so for more freedom, open to a different way. Oh my goodness. Oh, who would you be if you knew who you really were? How would you feel if you could trust your own word? What if you could shine the only way you shine, and help the world come alive? Ooh, who would you be if you knew who you really were? How would you feel if you could trust your own word? What if you could shine the only way you shine, and help the world, you help the world come alive? What would it take for you to like you? I know it can be so hard to do, but what if being all of you, what if being all of you is the world's next breakthrough? Who would you be if you knew who you really were? How would you feel if you could trust your own word? What if you could shine the only way you shine? Hear that? What if you could shine the only way you shine, and help the world come alive? Ooh, who would you be if you knew who you really were? How would you feel if you could trust your own word? What if you could shine the only way you shine, and help the world, you help the world come alive?
We want to let you know that we have prayer partners available to you at the end of the service. If you just stay seated, Steve will come and find you and pray with you in the sanctuary or down in our beautiful meditation room. And we always want to thank the band for all that you give, and our film crew that gives so much of their time, and our sound people. We have fellowship afterwards, lots of wonderful food and coffee and tea. And now we're going to rise and close with I Release and I Let Go. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. worship.
Thank you.